Hello, welcome to American Baker in Germany. I'm Michelle, and today we are making an 18th birthday cake for one of my husband's cousins, and his theme is England and Great Britain. So let's get started. I had baked a 10-inch chocolate cake, which I cut into 4 5-inch square layers. I had also baked 4 6-inch square layers of chocolate chip cake. Then I cut a 5-inch square piece of cardboard to act as a cake board under the top tier. And I covered it in tinfoil to make it food safe. Then I started stacking the bottom tier. I filled and frosted this cake with dairy-free Swiss meringue buttercream. You see, my daughter isn't the only lactose-intolerant person in the family. For family events, I always make lactose-free or dairy-free recipes. Then I chilled the cake for half an hour in the fridge to let the buttercream set up. Next, I stacked the top tier, this time on a cake board. This is vegan chocolate cake filled and frosted with dairy-free Swiss meringue buttercream. I crumb-coated the cake and chilled it just like the bottom tier. Then I frosted the bottom tier again with more buttercream. Square cakes can be difficult to frost, but in my experience it works as long as you just keep going over it until you're happy with it. Then I cleaned out my cake board with a damp rag. Then I roll out some white fondant and drape it over the cake. Square cakes can be difficult to cover with fondant, but I smooth on the top first to get out the air bubbles, then smooth the sides, cut off the excess around the bottom, then pinch the corners together and cut the excess off the edges, smoothing them together with my fingertips. It's not the most perfect cake covered, but I have plans that will cover the imperfections. Then I do the exact same thing with the top tier. If you like what we do here, consider subscribing for a new cake video every week. We also have regular bonus videos with recipes and tutorials. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of them. Then I cut 9 lengths of skewer to be the right length to fit into the bottom tier and place them into the bottom tier. Then I smeared some buttercream onto the cake and placed the top tier on top. I wanted to make a Union Jack on top of the cake, so I used red fondant and rolled it out in a strip. Then I cut it into 1-inch wide strips. Then I marked the center of the cakes on each side. Then I laid the red strips directly over the center lines I had marked. Then I cut half-inch strips of red fondant and made one end into a point and laid it into the corner of the strips on the top and draped them down the edges. Then I noticed that the white spaces were wider at the bottom than at the top, so I started out with 1-inch blue fondant strips and centered them in the white spaces on the bottom tier. Then I cut 3/4-inch blue strips and put them on the top tier, continuing the line up the cake. I trimmed them to be triangular at the top of the cake. I used my clay extruder to make a hexagonal line. I straightened it and placed it around the bottom of the cake. Then I started on the decorations for the sides. I did some thinking before choosing what to put on the sides. I needed recognizable landmarks in Great Britain. I started with Big Ben. I cut the black fondant to be the right size to fit onto the side of the cake. Then, looking at a picture of Big Ben, I freehand cut out the general shape. Then I pressed texture into it with the back of a knife. The clock face was made with the back of a piping tip. Then I stuck it onto one side with edible glue. Then I wanted to make London Tower Bridge. This one, the width was more important. I measured it to size first. Then I cut the rough shape out and stuck it onto the side of the cake. Next, I wanted to make London Eye. I used some circle cutters to make the circle shape. Then I freehanded the V shape for the center. The last one isn't exactly a landmark. I wanted to make the general shape of those red telephone booths. I cut out a rectangle from the center and then filled it in with a grid. Finally, I cut out a whole bunch of 1s and 8s and placed it all around the cake. This is an 18th birthday cake after all. This cake took a while because it was so tall, but it turned out exactly how I was hoping. It fit into the party perfectly too. The walls were covered with Union Jacks for the British themed birthday party, and the family was super happy with it. Happy 18th birthday, John. For more cakes and tutorials, visit our website at AmericanBakerInGermany.com. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. Don't forget to subscribe.